Welcome to all of our webcast attendees around the world on, let's see, I think about 4 continents, well, maybe 5 if you count Central America. Today, coming to you from our KTN headquarters in the Atlanta metropolitan area in Georgia, for those of you all outside of the United States. We are going to do a special topic for this month's training webcast. Those of you who are regulars, which are a lot of you, you know this is typically a train the trainer or staff training webcast theme that we actually speak to the doers in the hospitality industry, those who are taking the reservations, working the front desk, meeting guests where they are in the lobby, hotel salespeople, etc. But today we're going to kind of elevate the discussion, really kind of thought leadership. I see from our attendee list, we do have a lot of executive leaders today, but we also have a lot of frontline staff as usual. We even have one student. Shout out to you, Owais, in Pakistan. And I know you've been joining us for a lot of this series. So you are the future of our industry, but also for our CEOs. We have several of you today. Some of you are company founders, and we hope to inspire everyone. Our topic, Technification, is causing commoditization. So to stand out through Humanification. Hopefully you can zoom in. By the way, if you want to pin the frame or enlarge it, but hopefully you can see our fun little image we created here of 3 hotels, 2 with droid doormen, but 1 with an actual human. Shout out to our sponsors, Travel Outlook, the premier hotel call center, and Track, a hospitality software company. We're actually going to talk about how both of these companies embrace technology in a way that allows us to have more humanification. So to use tech in a way that enables our staff to have emotional connections and touch the hearts of our guests. As always, as we're waiting for our live participants to join, let's check the list here of our attendees are coming on, and we see you joining us, and we appreciate those of you who are able to join us live. It's always nice to see. But I also like to do our shout outs for, first of all, a couple of reasons. For one, it gets me in the mindset of presenting to all of the people that are watching instead of just looking at this little webcam. And we do like to recognize your attendance. So let's shout out our international attendees. We have Beaches, Turks and Caicos. Patrice, thank you for joining us, Director of Guest Services. Namron Hospitality, some amazing boutique luxury resorts throughout, mostly in Mexico. Diana, thank you again. We see you quite often. The Hotel Maluri, once again, Ryan, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I would love to come back to KL, Malaysia, if we could organize a program there. I know you and I have exchanged some thoughts on that. Stay Florio in Belize. Karen, thank you. And then we have a hospitality technology consulting, Ted from Australia, company founder. I hope you find this topic relevant, especially since apparently you're in the technology consulting business. We have a lot of vacation home rental companies. For our hoteliers, you may not be aware of this industry, but it is, the property managers who manage multiple vacation rental condos and homes, in some cases hundreds. In fact, some of the companies we have here today are literally managing hundreds of properties. Blue Water, North Carolina. Brittany, we see you, reservation manager. And we also have American Patriot Getaways, which is a cabin rental company up in Gatlinburg. Andrea, we notice you as well. Both of you, I do hope you attend our other sessions sometimes that we do specific to reservation sales. In fact, we have one coming up in 2 more months. We rotate the topics for those of you who are not familiar. We also have a couple more vacation rental, actually quite a few more, but a couple more shout outs. Skyrun, Copper Mountain location. Kristen, thank you. No Madness, Kelly, it's great to see you at No Madness Rentals. We have several management companies that manage multiple hotels. TNB, Tad, CEO. Wow, we see you on possibly every webcast we've ever done, but we do notice you. Daily 7, Mandy, welcome back. We've seen you before. Hotel Evolution, it looks like you're a consulting company, Barat. You're also our neighbor here in Atlanta Metro. Love to come and buy you a coffee or perhaps grab a lunch and get to know you a little bit better. So send me a note if you're up for that. Then we have some luxury resorts, Juniper Reserve. Casey, I'll look forward to meeting with you. I know Kathy Cook has a call scheduled with you at 2 p.m. Pacific next week. Sea Pines, Hilton Head, Jordan, hello. And then some good friends, Cassim. Once again, you've been with me almost every time I've done a webcast since we launched this series over 3 years ago. I do see you every time on the list. It makes me very happy. And we have Still City Sports Massage. Kimberly, good to see you back visiting us. I would love to revisit the opportunity to come up to Pittsburgh and do some customized training for your team as well. And so let's get into it. What is technification? I love today's era because years ago, doesn't seem like that many years ago, we all had to go buy a dictionary. You'd buy a dictionary maybe in high school or college, and it would last a couple of decades, maybe your whole life till you got a new one. But now word and language evolve in every language, and we do create new words. So I kind of thought I helped create a new word, technification, but it actually originates from the modern English deviation of technical and technology with ification. It was actually first used in the 1930s to describe the process of making something technical or introducing mechanical methods. So I can't take credit for this one, but hopefully we bring back a word because we have certainly technified the lodging industry. Now, I like to call it actually the accommodations industry. Just as examples today, we have all-inclusive resorts, we have vacation home rentals, we have some boutique hotels, we have branded hotels, and we have all our own unique cycles of service. But in the traditional hotel model, I want us to think about all of the touch points that existed back when I started in the industry as a college student, as a bellboy for actually a banquet waiter, but then hotel van driver, airport van driver, bellboy, and management trainee at the Lexington Marriott Griffin Gate in Lexington, Kentucky. We had all of these touch points: reservation call, arrival, check-in, room stay. We actually had a lot more in between, like picking you up at the airport, and then of course room stay, dining and amenities when people would call, perhaps ordering room service if you're full service, concierge business, checkout, and hopefully return and repeat and repeat and repeat. Let's look at how many have been eliminated. Now, vacation rentals, those of you, again, who don't know this, you may think you just book on Airbnb and go to a house and get a door code, and Joe Schmo owns that home or condo and rents it to you. But the managed vacation rental industry has been around, a lot of people like to say since the 80s, but I know it goes way back. Some of your companies here visiting us today have been around much longer. The earliest I know of is actually 1952, or my friend Lucy Kwai Halu started her company in 1976 in the island of Kauai. But also at that time, we still had keys. So you would go to a reception office, pick up your key. Some of you still have keys because you have to, reception office, because you have to issue a parking pass for them to enter a condo building. But most of you, they go straight to the homes. And then of course, we'll go through how all of this has changed for vacation rental. So I don't want to leave you out, but let's look at traditional hotels. Calls with questions prior to booking, mostly eliminated. We used to have people that would call and say, what is the approximate taxi fare or travel time from the airport in a taxi? I was that person because, I lived in New York City for a while in my third hotel job. And, invariably those taxi drivers would, not to say they were all unethical, but there was a lot who were the bad apples. And you get in the cab, they say, oh, first time in New York? Yeah, first time. Oh, they take you the long way. So, a $25 ride from LaGuardia to Times Square might turn into a $50 or $75 route. So smart people called ahead. Also, you'd want to find out, if you could make that flight back at 7 p.m. out of LaGuardia, what is the approximate travel time from Times Square back to LaGuardia? So we would get questions, calls for directions, any number of different questions that are all wiped away by maps, and now even more so, Google Maps or whatever maps program that you use. Of course, reading online reviews. And then, of course, now we all have AI that everybody is using. Calls to reconfirm the booking that you made online. People did not trust the OTA. People did not trust website direct bookings. So people would call just to make sure you got it. Okay, they didn't believe. Then calls with questions after bookings about policies, procedures, amenities, and the local area. Well, once again, we just say, What restaurants are near brand X hotel in this location? Boom, up comes the list. What attractions are nearby? Do they allow pets? Calls while en route. Hi, I'm lost. Can you help me? Yeah, where are you? I'm at the Shell station. Which one? There's like 7 in our city. Check-in. Okay, now that I put a question mark by, we're going to take a deep dive into what's happening with check-in despite efforts to automate it. Bell service with luggage. Oh boy, when I was a bell person, because my sister was actually the first bell person hired by Hyatt Hotels in the 70s. They had to call corporate office to get permission to hire a female, if you can believe that. So she was a boundary buster, so I should say bell person. She did that job for 22 years, actually. In fact, they used to call her the bell mom because she had 3 kids. But the bell service was greatly reduced because they started putting, first of all, carts. I remember buying actually a 2-wheel trolley thing that we put the luggage on when I was a business traveler early in my career. And now, of course, everything has wheels. So that has been greatly reduced. The one thing we hated was when guests would use our bell cart without our permission. However, now at a lot of hotels, they just put the bell carts out there. In fact, in my old hotel, that's what they do. They have the bell carts for self-service. So a lot of that has gone away unless you're luxury or ultra luxury. Calls from rooms with requests for towels, pillows, irons, things like steamers. Question mark there. We'll come back to it. Ordering room service, maybe. And then guest experience requests. Restaurants, local directions, attractions, gone. Checkout, that left a long time ago. As soon as people started emailing, hotels started emailing the receipts, most people no longer check out. So of course, vacation home rental, you don't have to drop the key off anymore. You don't have to pick up the key. This is all automated. Now, some people still, use all these touch points. There are all those people that drop the key off. Do we need anything else from you? We're leaving. They don't want to be billed for the late checkout or for whatever reason they want closure. So you might still see people doing that. And then assistance with transportation or directions. I do respect the Forbes criteria, but I'm not sure if they changed this one yet, but they might have for 2026. I have seen the 26 criteria, but I don't remember. But offer assistance with transportation or directions. I mean, most guests are either have a ride rating or they're going to use their Uber app or they've already set up and they don't need directions generally. So it's actually required. And the problem is if, the standard requires it to be offered. And so if you offer it when they call down to let you know they're leaving the room, when they stop by the desk and then the door person offers it, then you get offered 3 times assistance with transportation. And it's hard for the one department to know that the other department already touched you. So that's one I think that, is kind of needs to move on. So what's left? Circa 2026, we should say 2027 now because it's in the last 4 months or almost here. Check-in, calls for room service, calls for extras, towels, pillows, iron, and room service. A lot of people actually prefer to call. I'm going to show you some hard numbers on this. So this is what's left, okay? Except for when things go wrong, okay? Now, some of you in the accommodations world also automate this. When guests have complaints, they're going into a guest messaging app and you're responding through AI alone with that app. That's fine if it's a simple request and you can, resolve it quickly, but we really need to insert humans back into when things fall off the assembly line and don't work like they're supposed to. And then the other place to insert guest touch points that I hope to convince you all to think about and after our time today is when we proactively reinsert human encounters, thus humanification. So this is part of commercial strategy, in my opinion. I will also be sharing some other thought leaders in this industry of the highest levels, people with way more experience than me in hotel operations and in technology that espouse the same concept that I believe, reinserting humans into the hospitality business. Personalization that starts with a person, like the word personalization. Okay. So think about it from the guest journey. All right. How many apps has your guest used before they arrive? Well, first of all, booking on an app. All right. Now, again, a lot of people call. Those of you who are in reservations jobs, you know, we do talk about people call with questions prior to arrival, prior to booking. That is a big opportunity we've covered in previous webcasts. When people only just have a quick question, we want to always say, hey, by the way, now that I've answered your question, have you made a reservation yet? But still, a lot of people book through a booking app or a website. They've used a rideshare app to hail their Uber or perhaps Lyft. They've used an airline app to check in, to check on the flight status. They used a fast food app once they landed or at the airport connection to pre-order their Chick-fil-A or their McDonald's burger when you're going to be picking it up. Or, you know, now even especially at the airport locations, you have to order at the screen. They used review apps to find a restaurant. They did Open Table to book a dinner reservation if they're entertaining colleagues or a romantic dinner. They used a rental car app. I use Avis or sometimes Budget. Budget, you know, instead of going by the counter, Avis puts your name up there on the board or they send you your space number. Budget tells you to go to a row, take a picture of the license plate, hop in that car. Okay. No more humans. And now, even at the gate, they have the QR code to exit. So, no more human interaction. The work is all done by the traveler. Okay. So, I have a lot of jobs. Okay. I work for Delta, I work for Uber, I work for the hotel or vacation rental brand, I work for the fast food company, I work for the reservations, I work for the rental car, and then of course I have to self-service my own directions. Okay. So by the time a guest arrives, do you think your guest might be increasingly feel apped out? And now we're like, okay, great. Now use some more apps once you're here. Use an app to check in, use an app to order your room service, use an app to request extra towels, use an app to check out, use our app to book your spa, dining, or other reservations. Use our app in our vacation homes to book your add-on experiences. You know, sometimes people want to go back to humanification. Not always. We should have both options. All right. So let's talk about that. Perhaps this might be why smartphone check-in has not caught on as much as originally expected. So let's look at the history of smartphone check-in. All right. Specifically, one problem with smartphone check-in, this feels like me. You arrive with a dead battery. Now, when I fly, I usually try to remember to plug in my phone. I had to take a Frontier Airlines flight earlier this week because it was the latest flight, an hour later than my Delta. I love my Delta. Delta, they got the plugs. Frontier didn't have a plug. Sometimes they had the plugs, but the power outlets are not working on that flight. Sometimes you plug it in, but then the plug falls out because the plug is overworn. Or you forget to plug it in. Or you have a phone that's more than 2 years old. You know, it seems like when they hit the 24-month mark, every phone, the battery dies. I don't know how many times I've gone a replacement battery installed by the iPhone or the actual iFixit store. And that new battery never works as good, even when you get the actual manufacturer battery replacements. So I find myself carrying my charger, which I then have to plug in, you know, in my pocket, my little portable charging pack station. So do guests prefer self-service over humans? You know, we're kind of forced to do it. Now, sometimes I go to Walmart, especially to buy produce. Not only is it about 60% less than our local public supermarket, but they also have more selection. When I go there, I go to self-service check-in because, first of all, it's quicker. But my wife, Kathy, she will, if I'm not with her, she will go to the actual line. She doesn't care because she's patient, unlike me. And she will wait in that line. And I say, but honey, why don't you use self-checkout? She's like, I don't work for Walmart. Okay. Some people just prefer the human interaction, but I think that's actually a valid reason. Other people don't want to go to self-checkout because maybe it's eliminating jobs. But data is hard to nail down on guest preference surveys because most of those are done by the tech companies, okay? But based on Doug Kennedy's own anecdotal evidence, I will tell you, smartphone check-in is not catching on. And here's a picture of my anecdotal evidence. Okay, it's actually an AI picture, but I have seen this so many times. People standing in the rope line with their smartphone out, waiting to check in with the human. I often talk about a conference check-in experience I had. I recently had this actually in February at the Omni in Barton Creek, where it was a technology conference checking in. People were waiting for the humans, who were amazing, by the way. But the most one that I like to talk about the most was the Hilton in New Orleans, a lodging conference skewed towards technology savvy people because it was revenue and distribution people mostly in the line. It was a Sunday afternoon check-in. If you worked at a convention hotel, you know what that means. So rope lines were out, a lot of people waiting. Nobody was checking in online. But once the queue got to a certain point, I saw people pulling out their phone, downloading the Hilton app, or maybe opening the Hilton app they hadn't used. And very few of them actually then left the line and went up. I've seen this happen at casino hotels. When the queue is short to medium, people wait. When it gets to that threshold, people leave. So what was supposed to happen? 2014 Hotel Business News announces Hilton's, and this is 2014 dollars, $550 million mobile push for smartphone check-in that guests at over 4,000 properties will be able to check in by smartphone. And I love Hilton. We have many Hilton branded hotels as clients. I do love Hilton. That is an industry leader, and it's a very smart company. So I admire Hilton for trying to lead the way. But let's look at the results, okay? Because what has happened 14 years later? Now, we don't have hard data from Hilton because I have not seen it published anywhere. I have asked anecdotally what's going on. Actually, let me just speak to that first. I checked into the two hotels that I asked this. One was the Hilton at Boston Logan Airport. Many business travelers, lots of corporate people on the road all the time. I asked the young man at the front desk, hey, by the way, how many people are using smartphone check-in? He said, oh, a lot. I said, well, out of like 100, how many? He's like, about 20%. And that's a number I've heard again and again. I actually also asked at a Hilton, Home to Hilton branded hotel. That's the number that keeps on coming up. That hotel was near a corporate complex. So, there are those people who will do it, but and many of you in the hospitality industry, you might prefer that. Somebody told me this week, like they actually work as a reservations call center, a reservation contact center manager. They said they never want to talk to someone because they've talked to people all day long. But here's what J.D. Power told us in 2023 study released 3 years ago. So this is a little bit older. Then we're going to talk about a very recent one. 12-month study across 102 brands. By the way, J.D. Power and Associates. Okay, this is not a tech company that is going to perhaps present biased data. This is legit data. Okay, and what they found was that 40%, 30% of all guests, this is all markets, ultra luxury to economy, 30% had the brand app. Out of those 30%, 30 out of 100 who had the brand app, 40% of the 30% use that app to check in. So that was 12% of overall respondents. Okay, now check this out. Of those who use the app to check in, 75% report they still interacted with the front desk at some point. Okay, so let's look at something more recent, like last week. The Amadeus technology company, Travel Dreams 2026, From Data to Delight. By the way, I highly recommend downloading this report. Thank you, Amadeus. It's free of charge. They asked a survey of 6,000 leisure and business travelers, Australia, China, Germany, India, and United Kingdom, and United States during 2025. Okay, so this was just reported this recently. At which stages of the experience would travelers find AI-powered tools the most helpful? Okay, 42% in the planning research. This is what all the data that's coming out about how people are using the AI, the chat GPTs, Google Gemini, Claude, any of the others that you may be using are at top of funnel in the early research stage, okay? But inspiration, discovery, so again, we're getting there. But the actual at check-in, look at the number, same as my anecdotal, unscientific research, 20%, they would think AI would be good to use at check-in. And then a few other people said here, booking the reservation, that was kind of low too, only 32%. So let me tell you about a hotel that did self check-in right. This was the first hotel that I ever trained to do self check-in, and this was right after COVID. I think they had just taken off the mask only for the photo here. This was the hotel that is called the Farmer's Daughter Hotel, across from the Farmer's Market in Hollywood, California, also across from the CBS studio where I think it's the game shows are filmed. I forget which ones are on what channel right now, but this is the general manager here with his staff. It's a boutique hipster hotel, thus the casual clothes you see behind here. They used, I think it was Shiji, SIJI. They used the iPad check-in. They made these little banking style privacy kiosks, and they had their credit card machine, their iPads, and they had actually reinvented the front desk. So they removed the front desk, and this, I don't have the picture behind it. I didn't animate this correctly. You can actually see this hotel. It's actually very cool. The restaurant is amazing. And anyway, they eliminated the front desk, put these kind of pods here, stations. I can't think of the right word right now, but yes, these stations for them to stand on, and then the private check-in areas. So they did it right. And he told me when he hired me, I do not want to get rid of the front desk staff. I want to reinvent their position. It was very awkward for them because they're used to standing behind the front desk, but now we actually reprogrammed their whole arrival process to where they stood right out by the door, welcomed guests in, directed them to self-check-in, and and if they got any pushback, they say, you know what, I'll take care of that for you, Mr. Kennedy, and they would go and actually check you in for it. But I think really everybody went for it when they were offered assistance. This is rehumanizing automated check-in. Now, Abode Luxury Rentals, shout out to Rob and Rachel. They are just Aldi's. They are amazing. This is the first time I got to train them in 2018. They are a luxury vacation home rental company. They have done so well. They are in Jackson, Wyoming. They're in Park City, Utah, and Sun Valley, Idaho. Now they are. Back then, they had about 30 homes, luxury vacation homes. These homes are very high end. And what they did, and I believe they are still doing, is they do their best to have an actual personal welcome at the home. So when you get there, they show you how to work all the tech. In fact, they had freshly baked cookies being made. Of course, they were probably, packaged, slice and bake. But let me tell you, when you walk in, and this was actually in the winter, it was a little bit cold. I think it was early January. We had our jackets off, but it was pretty sunny then. But the first thing you smell is a freshly baked cookie. You didn't care if it was from the powdered bag or not. It takes maybe 12 minutes to cook. And so they do it right. And I know they still try to do that. Now, not everybody can have, meet the guest in the house, maybe for your bigger houses, but at least do a personal welcome or a video welcome and do reinsert humans. Now, what about phone service? I'm going to run through this quick. I've shared this data before, but financial service company, McKinsey Research, by the way, another right up there with JD Power and Associates. They report that it is actually the segment that is as likely to use phone as baby boomers is Gen Z. They are 30 to 40% more likely to call than millennials, and they use the phone as often as baby boomers. Premium customers of all ages also prefer the phone, with many saying live phone support is part of premium services. So this again is going back, I think this one's about 2 or 3 years old. I don't have the date on this, but here's one that came out this week, unveiling the right reasons why, I'm sorry, this summer, unveiling the reasons why 80% of Americans are skeptical about AI, June 23rd, 2026. When engaging with businesses online, 75% of respondents say they find human representation more helpful than AI. Only 15% referred talking to the AI chatbot. Okay. So when asked, the survey respondents were asked which businesses use AI well. 61% could not identify any companies that use AI well. 16%, that was 61%, said they couldn't think of any company that does it well. 16% don't think any business anywhere does it well. I will tell you one company that does it really well is Delta Airlines. So they do give you the immediate chatbot that tries to help you, but they make it easy to reach a live person when needed. So let's talk about our sponsor here. I mentioned that I would be discussing Travel Outlook, the premier call center. They do an amazing job with live agents, but 3-4 years ago, they actually introduced Annette, the virtual hotel agent. Now, rather than replacing humans, because they continue to hire new reservation staff, they continue to grow. We actually train their new hire classes. We're starting a new hire class, 4-part training for them on Monday. They're growing, they're doing well, but they also offer the virtual agent. So they used AI and chatbots to answer basic questions, complete repetitive tasks, while making it easier to connect with a well-trained human when needed. All right. That's how we should use AI, in my opinion, in this industry. According to Travel Outlook, Annette can answer up to 60% of the calls for the front desk, freeing the front desk up to actually interact with guests and have authentic, genuine conversations to create an emotional connection. All right. So Annette can route calls to internal departments, and they can always offer a transfer to a live agent option. That's why we love Travel Outlook, the only call center certified by Kennedy Training Network. We do QA work for them. We score calls. We know they do it well on the live agents, but they're also the best in tech. We'll be talking about Track in just a minute. Now, other providers of AI bots refer to two things: concepts of containment, of friction points. Okay, so a friction point in this world of chatbot, there's a lot of language being thrown around, but basically AI-powered voice agents or chat agents online that are automated chat responses. They call any attempt by a guest to reach out and talk to a human. The tech companies call this a friction point. Friction point, interesting choice of words. Now, their goal of these providers apparently is to provide containment of these friction points. So that means basically that they don't have to talk to a person. Now, they all say, oh, this is not done to cut back on staff. We want to give our guests, because guests these days, those millennials and Gen Zs, they prefer technology. They don't want to talk to anyone. Well, not according to McKinsey, not according to the research you just saw, not according to Amadeus, okay? All the research I just shared. Now, again, different contexts. I don't want to roll all this into one survey results. But how many guests are actually, instead of being contained, they're actually deflected? How many of those guests give up and go away? Okay, so think about what we're doing when we push guests away from a human. Is that really what we want to do? Or do we want to insert humans into the process? Which we're going to end our webcast today by talking about how we can do that. But now let's go to the next word, which I would love to have said that I made up, but apparently dictionary.com, Merriam-Webster, sorry, not dictionary.com. Commoditizing, it kind of comes up under the same words: to render a good or service that is widely available and make it interchangeable with one provided by another company. Okay. So basically, a commodity in the financial world is oil or grain. You know, I didn't know this for a long time, but I read somewhere that all gasoline, whether it's Shell, Marathon, Chevron, my understanding is it all comes in the same, and then it's basically sent out. You know, because Chevron, and again, I don't want to name any particular company on this, but different brands say they put in different additives that are gonna wash your engine. Or I remember they used to have the ads about NOx. You know, they would make your car not. I haven't heard a car knock in a long time, but you know, it turns the commodity of gasoline into a branded something special. I'm not sure any of us really think one brand of gas is better than the other. Maybe someone is out there. I kind of go by price, or I do like to go where Shell, where I get, you know, 5 cents off a gallon. But commoditization is where we make all hotels. We are moved. So when you take the people parts out, what's left is the commodity of accommodations, whether it's vacation home rental, house, condo, a mid-scale hotel, a luxury hotel, boutique hotel, conference hotel, destination hotel. So we're going to dig into all that right now. I want you to think about today what makes your hotel different from all of your competitors. We're going to visit the 4 P's here, okay? The first P is place. Does the place make your hotel different from all the other hotels? Maybe. Maybe if you're the El Tovar Hotel. Have you ever heard of the El Tovar Hotel? If memory serves, this was a client years ago. If memory serves, built around, I think, the 1930s, the Civil Conservation Corps era. They built this hotel right near the cliff of the Grand Canyon. Okay, that's a pretty unique place. To my knowledge, there's no other hotels on the rim of the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Okay, but unless you're El Tovar or something like that, place is probably not differentiating you because you have other competitors. Now, product, okay, the examples I'm going to give here, the product maybe actually does have something to do with the place. But if you are the guest house at Graceland, okay, which thank you for joining us on our webcast. We love having you. If you are the Hershey Hotel, who has been with us many times, I am proud to have had this as a client since actually the late 90s, various times. Right now, they're not currently a client, but we do see them showing up for our webcasts. I'm not sure if they're on this one. The Hershey Hotel was founded by Milton Hershey. It is actually, he put people to work during the Great Depression to build a hotel because they needed jobs in his area. Chocolate business did well even during the Great Depression. So they built this hotel. It's actually near Hershey Park in the town of Hershey. Okay. The inn at Biltmore Estate was a client in the past, not a client now. It's actually on the Biltmore Estate. Okay. Guest house at Graceland. I thought this was like a guest house. It actually has, I think, 465 rooms. Fabulous place. Next to Graceland. Okay. So maybe your product is unique if you're one of these. If not, it's probably not your place or your product that makes you stand out. Okay. Now, if you're a prestigious golf resort, ski resort, historic hotel, or a boutique, even if you're any of those categories, you still have competition. They may not be located next door, but you're competing with other golf resorts, ski resorts, historic hotels, or boutiques. Okay. So let's just look at top golf resorts in Florida. We have Streamsong, Innisbrook, the resort at Longbrook Key, Saddlebrook, I think was probably further down here. Now, they all might think they're very different, but to a Google search here, they seem pretty similar. Maybe you think you're a ski resort, and I put in here ski resorts in Vail. We have Sun and Out, the Four Seasons, the Grand Hyatt, Vail, and a long list of others. All luxury, all in Vail. Most of them are ski in, ski out. Boutique hotels in Hollywood, California, the Hollywood Roosevelt, Petite Hermitage, the Prospect Hollywood, Very similar, okay, in many ways. Now, I've actually been to the Hollywood Roosevelt. I did do training for their sales team. Okay, that was pretty cool. That's where Marilyn Monroe did a photo shoot there. That's very famous. They have an amazing Sunday afternoon event at the pool. It's purported to be a haunted hotel. But again, you know, to the person that doesn't know our history, the history as told by a human interaction, we're just another pretty little historic hotel, a pretty ski resort, or a pretty historic one. But otherwise, and those are extremes, for most of us in the industry today, the vast majority of hotels these days are similar in terms of decor, amenities, loyalty point programs, and service offerings. Let me give you some examples, okay? So if we go to Expedia, we put in random dates, we put in for Atlanta Airport, where I live, actually live on 14 acres of woods, but only 20 minutes from the Atlanta airport. Pretty good for a guy who travels 3 times a month. But if I live further out, and let's say I'm an hour, 2 hours away, and I want to leave out of Atlanta for a 5 a.m. flight, I might book me a hotel room. Okay, so if I put in there a one-night stay, Gateway Marriott, Holiday Inn North, Hilton Atlanta Airport. Look at these room pictures. Can you see those? Are you going to look at one picture and say, "Oh, I want that one"? Because guess what? They actually look pretty similar. Vacation home, Nag's Head. We have a couple of you on the call today. We always have a lot of turnout from the Outer Banks. Thank you. But, you know, I put in, this was done some time ago, a week in May before Memorial Day, 9 guests. Up comes a long list in Verbo of very similar vacation homes. If you look at the actual pictures on the front, many of them look the same, and you look at the little dots up and down the Outer Banks. Okay, so product, place, maybe. Is it going to be price? Will price differentiate you? Well, I kind of doubt it, because with the increased use of AI-powered automation of revenue management systems, we're going to be in a similar price as our comp set. You may have different algorithms depending on which revenue management software you use, pricing software, but they're going to be powered by the same data feeds. CoStar in hotels, key data in vacation rental. So you're getting the same feeds. What ends up happening? Okay, if you let the AI take over and you don't make those optional changes, what ends up happening? Lexington, Kentucky, my hometown. I put in for downtown Lexington. I put in the same dates. We have, I think this was a 3-night stay. Hilton, 662. The Sire Lexington Tapestry Collection, 695. The 21 Museum. Now, I was actually surprised that this one, but I think this is actually a special Expedia / pricing. Their hotel provided the rate of 690. Okay, 695, 662, 690, but Expedia is offering the special of 559. Now, I don't know if that hotel offered Expedia that rate, or Expedia is eating some of their commission to push that hotel on their own, which does happen. And then the Hyatt Regency, 698. So, 678, 690, 695, 662. Is price a differentiator here? Outer Banks, no, wait a minute, where we put in for Corolla, specific area of Outer Banks, and I put in the filters that would bring up similar inventory: 1135, 941, 1093, 986. So all within about $150 here. Okay, and they're all 6-bedroom. This one's actually 8 and 7-bedroom homes. But again, is price a differentiator? Probably not. Okay, so let's talk about groups and events. Is the sales process going to be a differentiator? What happens when the RFP response is automated for group sales, event sales, and business travel? Okay, so this is what's happening. In my current article, which will be running any day in CoStar Hotel News Now. If you don't subscribe to CoStar, it's hotelnewsnow.com. Will take you to the CoStar, which is the parent company of that purchased Smith Travel Research, STR. And my article I'm writing about what I saw at High Tech and the HSMAI Commercial Strategy Conference from vendors who were pushing AI powered automatic responses to requests for proposal inquiries. Okay. And the idea was that people go to your website on Friday at 6 o'clock when they're planning a Smurf group trip, and instead of getting a response on Monday, boom, they get a proposal sent that night. Okay. Or if it's Monday and the sales manager, their inbox is full of inquiries, and somebody inquires at 9 o'clock on Monday, they're still catching up from the Friday inquiries, boom, they get a response. Well, what happens when everyone is using AI to send an instant response? That poor meeting planner is going to put in the RFP at Cvent or somewhere, and boom, their inbox is going to be instantly filled with 10 proposals, all priced the same, with similar inventory, priced the same, about the same price. So this is what the companies are pushing for us. If you ask AI, I think this might be ChatGPT, what company, or maybe this is Gemini, what companies provide hotels with systems to automate the responses? Okay, we got Mice, we got Hippo, we got Amadeus, Cvent, and Meeting Package. Okay, so that's what's happening. If we all embrace technification, are we turning group sales into commodification, commoditization? That we're going to have similar inventory at the similar price sold through the same automated process. What's left? Okay. Hospitality Today. This is last week. If you're not reading Hospitality Today every day, you should. I read Marcus Bush. He's doing all the writing now. I used to contribute to his publication, but he's actually producing 3 articles almost every day. He had a very interesting one today. In fact, the one that he mentioned today was relative. He didn't use the term humanification, but it's keeping the human parts. But a lot of what he talks about is the latest on technology. He seems to read all of the public quarterly data from that's produced by publicly traded corporations, and he goes, the SCIF meetings and all these different providers of information out there. But this particular article, August 14th, the hotel side of corporate RFP process just started automating too. So Accor will hand its AI generated pricing for their corporate BT, corporate business travel. If you're a vacation rental, that may not be a term you know. Hotels, we know this. This is your corporate rate programs. Leaving the hotel that still sets its number by hand, bidding against one that doesn't. Okay, this is a good thing. We will soon see. So, product, place, price, not going to differentiate you. There's only one P left. Your people. Your people are the key to differentiating your experiences. Okay, so when place, product, and process starts tasting like the same vanilla milkshake, okay, now I like vanilla milkshakes, but if I only had vanilla, I like vanilla ice cream. Actually, I eat a little bit of frozen yogurt every single night. If I only had vanilla, maybe that would be good. If they didn't make all these other kinds, maybe I have a little less here because I wouldn't like it as much, but I like variety, okay? But if all we give is a vanilla milkshake, then decisions will be made by price alone. And the result, in my opinion, and my forecast, my fear, is that we will have a race to the bottom on price. I love AI for this reason. In fact, both these images are AI generated, but this actually is a race to the bottom on price. Because when you're offering the same product and the same place with the same process at the same price, what's left? If you take the people parts out, you're a commodity. And if everything is the same, just like gas, okay? I don't know about you, but if there's 4 gas stations on a 4-corner major intersection, okay, truth be told, I'm pulling on the one on the right. That's the way I'm going, so I don't have to make a turn. But if I'm like most people, I'm probably going to the one that's the lowest price. And of the 2 that are on the right at a major intersection, I am going to the cheaper price, by the way. So, am I the only one who thinks this? I'm going to direct you to a couple of very interesting resources before we finish up our time together with specific suggestions on how we can rehumanize. But I want to refer you to a man whose work I highly admire, Bashar Wali.
he has a TED Talk called "A Hotel is Just a Building," okay? And he ends his TED Talk by saying, "Humanity above all." This is a man who, at the time, was running a major hotel corporation, staying in luxury hotels. He's a hotel owner, operator, and founder, and he is all about technology and AI. But he reminds you in this TED Talk that without the human part, it's just a sad building. Now, I want to also direct you to Terrence Ronson. I recently started following Terrence in Hospitality Net. This man, and I only recently read this about you, Terrence, that he actually started in Taiwan as a frontline worker. Was it front desk or night audit? And a group of people that all worked at that hotel are now top tier executives in the industry. So I started following Terrence when he wrote this article. He writes a lot, even though he's a tech Perklink Limited. My understanding is consultancy relating to technology in the hospitality industry. So check them out, find out what Perklink does. It's hard to explain exactly because they do a lot of different things. But he writes these articles. The Invisible Hotel, Why Frictionless Efficiency is Eroding Hospitality Value and How to Reclaim It. And the summary is, this piece that he wrote argues hospitality's focus on frictionless automation risks commoditizing brands by eliminating human connections that drive loyalty. Now, I had already created this topic at the beginning of the year. We were planning this. I had already written my article for CoStar, a couple articles about the same exact title we're using today: Technification leads to commoditization, stand out through humanification. So you can imagine how I, Doug Kennedy, was so pleasantly surprised when I opened this up. I think it was in May, and he has a YouTube video called The Invisible Hotel. I highly encourage you to watch it and check it out. We're going to watch just a couple of minutes here before we finish up with my suggestions on humanification. So I highly suggest you take a look at this, especially on a thought leadership.
Picture pulling up to a high-end hotel. You step out of the cab, the doors slide open, and you just keep walking. You don't stop at a front desk. You don't hand over a credit card. You go straight to your suite and walk right in. Behind the scenes, biometric cameras recognize your face, while an AI system verifies your identity, assigns your room, and unlocks the door via your phone. For decades, the hospitality industry obsessed over this exact scenario. They poured billions into optimizing their technology stack to shorten lines, speed up workflows, and eliminate wait times. But achieving that perfect efficiency created an unexpected problem. When you remove every single point of friction, you also remove the spontaneity. The stay becomes perfectly smooth and completely forgettable. If a hotel operates entirely without human interaction, there is no emotional resonance to anchor the memory. The brand becomes entirely interchangeable with any other building that has a working algorithm. We tend to assume a guest builds loyalty over a 3-year.
So I really got such validation when I saw Terrence Ronson's video on that. I hope you do follow Bashir Wali and Terrence Ronson and get additional deeper dive into this topic. So what do we do? Technification, embrace technology, okay, but use a tech for touch approach to using technology to make stronger human connections, okay? And that is our industry's biggest weapon against commoditization. So I like to use the word humanification, okay? So what is humanification? It is recognizing that fewer interactions, when you have fewer interactions, each interaction that's left is that much more important. When I'm training my vacation rental clients, I talk about how with automated self-service check-in, they book online, they get their reminders, they get their upsell add-on, cross-sell add-on opportunities. They get an automated, maybe from Breezeway or some tech company is going to send them a welcome message, let us know if anything is going on. We send them a check-in with you message the next day. How's it going? They don't ever talk to anyone. Maybe it's the maintenance tech. When she shows up at the door, that is the face of your brand. Or when someone calls and they can't figure out how do we work the remote, and if all we do is let a chatbot tell them to press the button, of
course, they picked up the wrong remote and they're holding the remote for the fan that trying to turn on the TV with it. But these are friction points or these connection opportunities. So look for easy ways to reinsert human connection into the guest journey. I'm going to finish with those in a minute. Make it easy to reach a human when technology fails or when there's special needs. That's what Travel Outlook said when they launched a net. Let's talk about Track Hospitality Software, which is our other sponsor here. They have actually a Track Pulse, which is their call center solution. Now they also do, all the tech communication that you need with communicating with your guests and all that, but they also make it easy to reach a human. Now with Track Pulse, it's a fully integrated unified solution with cross-channel support. So you can actually have connections with anybody that messages you from any channel, pull them all together and then know what's going on, rather than messaging a guest to an Airbnb platform, which is opaque, and then, different areas. So these companies get it, and we're honored to have them as sponsors. So now here we go. This is Doug Kennedy, rapid fire suggestion. Let's see, we got, maybe a few more slides here I'm going to run through very quickly. And these are ways that you can put humanification back into hospitality. So if you do want a copy, if I go too fast, let me know. I'll send these to you. Shoot me an email. I'll share with this part of the deck. Post your phone number prominently. Phone calls are connection opportunities, not friction points. I love to talk about Majestic Resorts. They put at the top of their website, call us directly. All of a sudden, direct bookings increased. Their direct bookings now is a huge channel. Instead of burying it at the bottom of your webpage. So go right now, marketing leaders, where is your phone number? How hard is it or easy is it to find on desktop and on mobile? When guests book directly, call to obtain their arrival details. If you're a hotel, this is a great chance to find out how to personalize the visit and truly personalize that experience. So, hey, by the way, we saw you booked online. We just wanted to call to reconfirm. Now, you're not going to do this if you're an economy or mid-market hotel, because most of your guests are booking online. But again, luxury hotels, boutique hotels, vacation rental companies, call them, okay, if you have a phone number. If they book through an OTA that prohibits direct guest contact, message them through that app to introduce yourself, seek their arrival details, and then maybe channel convert their future stays. You let them know they booked through Airbnb. Hello, this is Doug from the actual property management company. I just wanted to reach out, introduce myself. Feel free to stop by and visit us in our office. Let me know if there's any requests that you have. You can't put your phone number in there. You can't put an email address in there. Airbnb will black that out, but you can certainly message them. In the sales office, if you use auto responses that features of CRMs provide, that's fine. They provide an initial prompt reply, but have salespeople reach out personally to establish relationships. So let AI respond on Friday night at 6 o'clock, but also call on Monday or send a short video message greeting, which we love video email at KTN. Include your headshots on emails and your email signatures. Now, if you're a vacation home rental company, somebody just wrote this in one of the LinkedIn groups for vacation rental. I've been saying this a long time. It prompted me to add it this morning. Put a picture of your customer service, your guest experience staff, or your entire maintenance techs of you all standing together, looking good on the refrigerator. He said the refrigerator is like your billboard in the house. So if they book you through Vrbo or Airbnb, they're going to remember who Blue Water Vacations is, who No Madness Rentals is, who Skyrun is. And next year, they might come back to you directly. Okay. Edit your standard proposal templates, hotel sales again. Delete what's not relevant and contextualize what is. Or if you're a vacation company, edit those track or streamline templates that you use, or Revenate or Track Pulse that you put it in, that you send to follow-ups. Use AI to add people to pictures of empty meeting rooms, hotel salespeople. Your PDF or your e-proposal link is going to have pictures of your event space. Well, you can't actually just take pictures of groups in there because of privacy reasons. It's hard to find 500 actors to fill or even 50 actors to fill a small meeting room. But with AI, you can add people. Short personalized video emails we already talked about. Front desk front lobby. Get people to look up from the computer as guests approach. Greet them before they greet you, even if they self-checked in, even if they're already in-house. Hello, welcome, how are you? Make that eye contact, share that vibe. Train all staff to greet all guests they pass in hallways. Strike up guest-focused conversations. If they're going to self-check in, they're going to book online. We don't have any more friction points. Let's meet the guests where they are. Where are they? They're in the elevators. You know how many times I get in an elevator? I always test the staff. I stand there and I don't say anything. Sometimes it's a 20-story building. Sometimes it's a 3-story building. You know, I think the elevators on the 3-story buildings run slower than the elevators on the 20-story buildings. Have you noticed that? Use that time to say, good morning, nice to see you, hello. Or when they're waiting at the front door for their ride share. Be focused and fully present. Don't say, how are you today, unless you really want to know. Okay, so be present. Good evening, welcome. I actually love the saying, are you having an excellent stay? Instead of, how are you today? Good, good, very good. Nice to see you, good. I really don't care. Listen with empathy when guests share their travel stories and travel trauma. Okay. Familiarize staff with local restaurants, especially the locals' favorites that have a unique menu or atmosphere, the off the beaten path place. That's what people want, okay? We've all got our Ruth's Chris Steakhouse or our Bonefish Grill experiences, but let's direct them to that authentic local place. That's what people want. A lot of times the people that work in our operations don't live near us, okay? They're commuting a long way away. They don't know what's nearby. So it's good to hand out a list, but it's better to speak personally. Train your staff on answering frequently asked questions, such as estimated travel times during traffic. You know, Google Maps is very conservative. They will tell you like if you put the leave now, it'll tell you the travel time now. If you say set departure time, it gives you the minimum and the maximum time. So it really is very conservative. It overestimates the time. For example, from the airport here, I'm 18 minutes, but if I put in leave in the future, it'll say like 18 to 40 minutes. I have never had it take more than 22 minutes to get to the Atlanta airport from here. So people might ask, okay? Event venues, business complexes, all right? Now, this is kind of funny. Another flashback I happened upon for March. And again, I love Hilton's innovation. I give them credit. But one thing that didn't take off was Connie, the concierge robot. There's actually quite a funny little YouTube video where they thought this would be a clever thing. They beta tested an actual robot that guests would walk up to and ask like, hey, where's a good restaurant? Didn't work out so well. So embrace humanification. A few more I know we went just a little bit over here, but if you have time to stay with us, a bartender who remembers your favorite beer or cocktail. I did training C-Pines, if you're still with me, Jordan, when I was there at the leadership train, the 3Ms of hospitality leadership class. And then I did a hotel hospitality class there. And one of the servers there actually keeps a notebook that he writes down his regulars. And he knows what drinks they want and, you know, what they usually order at the bar. And then he's able to remember them when he, you know, like, hey, Doug, welcome back. They don't see him when he's looking at his little cheat sheet. Oh, yeah, I know you want, for me, an Arnold Palmer. I don't drink anymore. Housekeeper who sees children's clothing and toys in the room leaves you extra towels. Or one that notices you used only the decaf K-cups and none of the others, they leave you extra decafs. Anyone with a name badge breaks the awkward silence in the elevator ride. Any associate acknowledges your baby or your child or your pet. Hi, what's your name, little puppy? Oh, his name is Tuffy. And that would be my wife. When a front desk colleague truly welcomes you in a personalized way, instead of saying, thank you for your loyalty to Hilton Honors or Marriott. Thank you for being a loyal guest, or IHG, right? Whatever the program is. Thank you for being a loyal guest. Here's your free water. Much better to say, by the way, we really appreciate you coming back. Have you stayed at this Hilton, Marriott, IHG before? Okay. A laundry room attendant who notices what appears to be a rag. It's actually a well-worn blankie. I had that happen when my daughter was a young baby and we lost the pink blankie. Somebody found it. When colleague and mailed it to us. When any colleague asks about your travel plans and listens and empathizes when you share, ask about your travels journey and empathizes and shares. When a host or hostess says, are you ready to be seated? Not just one? Yeah, just one. No one wants to have dinner with me. When someone comments on the sports logo on your hat or t-shirt or your college class ring or about your hometown or the country of origin, okay, if you're wearing a soccer shirt, football around the world. When you're a female being greeted by another female and someone offers a sincere compliment, obviously a unique piece of jewelry, handbag, or sweater. Now, I don't want to raise any eyebrows in HR here, okay? Obviously, a man is not going to say, I really like your outfit. But now, ladies, we never mind if you say, I like your tie, although I no longer wear a tie. But I do get compliments on my ring, so that is nice from any gender. But we want to be very sensitive to this. But certainly, I love it when I'm traveling with my wife and if someone compliments. I see it all the time. In fact, my wife, Kathy, is the first to do this to lift others up. And if someone says she has a particular pink sweater that's very soft looking, I just love that sweater. And if they have time, she will tell you the story, hopefully the short version, about how she found this sweater at the Lafayette Galleries in Paris. And it was a really interesting story. But anyway, it makes her day, or compliment their bag or their earrings. But again, be sensitive to this and be appropriate, but it's very safe when it's a female to female situation. So in summary, ladies and gentlemen, today and humans around the world, technification of the accommodations industry is inevitable and can be a good thing. Embrace emerging technologies that make sense for your organization, but deploy tech in a way that maintains or even increases the humanification of their experiences. In this way, we can avoid commoditization. So I want to finish with a thought: humanification as a commercial strategy. Now, we had a chance, Kathy Cook and I, when we went to the HSMAI Commercial Strategy Conference. They have something on the last day called the Lightning Round, and they're 7-minute presentations from some of the top leaders in the industry. We love seeing Natasha Scott, Senior Vice President of the Americas Commercial and Revenue Management Strategy, make a presentation. And her presentation is that loyalty isn't a program, it's a feeling. At the end of her presentation, Kathy Cook and I stood up and we applauded, because it really is. And if you look at in our other webcasts, we've talked about at the top of the funnel in the inspiration phase, we have people who are the number one source of inspiration phase is still referrals from friends and family, social media of friends and family, or work friends. We covered that 2 webcasts ago with 2026 Expedia data and also McKinsey data from 2 or 3 years ago. So I hope you've enjoyed. Technification is causing commoditization. Well, we can stand out through humanification. Thank you to Track Hospitality Software, Travel Outlook, the premier hotel call center. Please join us next month for hotel upselling, training tips for front desk and reservations teams, and the 3 M's of hospitality leadership, model, mentor, measure, which will be in October. Starting in November, we rotate back to hotel sales. Please view our previous webcast at our KTN YouTube channel, where we have going on close to 40 saved now. We also have Kate's video training tip of the month. We just did a new one up yesterday, which our baseball fans will love. And so reach out if you're interested in on-site training, private live webcam training, conference presentations, mystery shopping, or scoring of recorded calls for those of you who record calls. Thank you again. Looks like a good portion of you have actually stayed, even though we're 10 minutes over on this one. This topic was important to me. I hope it was worth the extra time. This is my personal contact information if you would like copies of any of this presentation. Thank you again for your loyalty and coming back to see us. We'll see you again next month at the KTN webcast.